Hello there, YouTube. My name is Chuggy, and today I'm playing a little bit of Gran Turismo 5, having a little bit of an online mess about, actually, as it just was happening, but then I had an idea. Well, first of all, Tom is with me. Say hello, Tom.
Hello, I'm back in yet another of Chuggy's videos.
Indeed. Today, well, I've had loads of requests from you on how to set up a car, and I thought it'd be good fun, well, to talk through setting up a car, but also perhaps see some effect in real time. So Tom is in his lovely 2002 Honda NSX Type R, and what he's now about to do is go out to track, set a hot lap, and this car is completely stock on sports hard tyres, as you can see. And basically, we're going to look for the improvement. So I have a pre-modified version of this car. Just to mention, if you're aware of GT5's tuning system, we'll be maxing at 500 performance points. But what I'm going to try and do is aim this little discussion. Look at that drift, lovely. I'm going to try and aim this so you can hopefully apply this stuff to any racing game. Because to be honest, the time you will find, thanks to a proper setup, you'd be surprised. 2 or 3 seconds in some cases. It's absolutely incredible, the time you can find. So anyway, hopefully today I'll talk through, at least I know some of the basics. I've cobbled a few things together. I'm no car mechanic, I will make mistakes, so I'll apologise for them before I even start. Whoa, look at that. And yeah, let's hopefully have some fun, and with any luck, faster cars as well. So anyway, Tom's about to go on his lap. I won't talk. If you want to commentate over it yourself, Tom, please feel free to.
Well, just how the car feels, and
yeah,
the outlap, it felt a bit sluggish, a bit hard to try and get drifting around the corners, get the back stepping out. But let's
you
try
like a bit of drift, though, do you?
Well, from our mess around, yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to kind of slow down as well.
Yeah.
And get the power on, especially when you're
especially when you're in the AstroTurf, yeah.
It does feel heavy.
How do you mean heavy? In terms of the car moving around?
You turn and it just keeps sliding. Well, understeery.
Understeering.
Just try and go on this corner. There, the back's just stepped down.
The back's going.
Oof. There again.
Nicely held, though. Nicely held.
It's easy to hold it.
Coming up to the line now, you have done, sir, a 58 something. Read that split.
58.839.
Lovely. So you can see actually on my HUD the best lap I've done in a 500 pp Honda NSX is a 57.1. And well, I'm going to be making a few tweaks and we're going to see what happens. So that was Tom's lap. If he wants to carry on driving, please feel free to. But I'll talk through my Honda's setup and what made it like
I will update you with faster times as they occur.
As they appear. Very nice, very nice. Right. So the thing you need to be aware of when tuning a car is that a car fundamentally is 4 contact patches, the tyres. They are the only contact you should, anyway, hopefully ever have with the road or anything else around. So if you want to make time up with a setup, it's all in the tyre choice and tyre setup and suspension setup and everything there. You can have the most powerful engine in the world, but if you can't go around corners effectively, let's say, you're just going to lose time left, right, and centre.
58.2.
Very nice. Improvement. Keep going, son. So making getting the suspension right and things like that will help you immensely, utterly so. So horsepower isn't everything, is what I'm saying. Tyres, the setup of the suspension, and the way that the power is delivered is. So let's go from just top to bottom here, the way that GT's arranged it. So let's talk about the body and the chassis. So as a general rule of thumb, taking weight out of a car is normally a good idea. The reason being that making something lighter will make it a little more responsive. The number one enemy while you're driving a car is weight, essentially, and that will cause one of 2 things, really, understeer and oversteer. So understeer is when you turn into a corner, and you saw it a few times while Tom was driving, and the car just doesn't turn. It just carries on going, relatively speaking, straight. And oversteer is where the rear of the car keeps turning and you don't want to, as again, you saw while Tom was driving there.
Yeah, I was doing it for fun.
You were doing it for fun, but still, it proved the point. Thank you for doing that. So oversteer, understeer are your enemies. Really, in the perfect world, you want a neutral car, a car which does neither. But actually, having a little bit of oversteer, having a little bit of understeer can help you. And essentially, the only way you're really going to be able to tune a car effectively for you is to understand your driving style. Now, fundamentally, there are 3 ways of tuning a car, driving a car. You can be neutral, prefer a neutral car. You can prefer a little bit of understeer or a little bit of oversteer. And really, however that pans out, you'll just have to find out as you drive cars in racing games. Personally, I prefer a little bit of oversteer. So what I do is I set up my cars with a little bit of understeer to hopefully balance it a bit, and with any luck, it'll be a little bit neutral, which gives me some other benefits later down the road. But I'll talk about those in a bit. So anyway, let's talk about this. So weight reduction in normal terms is good. Gets rid of any understeer or oversteer which may occur. That's what we like. Rigidity improvement, making the car stiffer again. It stops the weight, the body of the car moving around, which will help you corner better. Now aero is interesting because aerodynamics really on slower cars won't make much of a difference. Formula cars, like your Formula One cars, definitely it will. Obviously, more aerodynamics means more grip. Makes you slower, that's the downside, but fundamentally, on slower cars, for example, like this, you won't be getting over 150, 160 really. It can help a bit, but not as much as you perhaps think. So don't think aero is everything on the slower cars. Weight. Now, weight adjustment is interesting. As you can see here, the NSX has got a 45-55 weight balance. If you're the special spot for weight balance is 50-50, as you can probably imagine. And what can be useful actually is to deliberately add weight to the car to get that 50-50 balance. I won't do it here. I tried it. It didn't work out particularly well. But adding a little bit of weight, it might sound a bit daft when you've taken weight out especially, but adding a little bit of weight can help. And if you find, for example, the car may be a little unresponsive from the front, you turn in and not much happens, add some weight there. There's some force up there, and you'll be pleasantly surprised with the result. So adding some weight can be beneficial. No, it doesn't really sound beneficial, but it can be. Now the engine. The engine's interesting. As I've kind of said, you can have all the power in the world, but you need to be actually able to use it on the track. And as you'll see, I've basically not really bought anything for the engine. I've, in GT5's case, I've upped a few things. For example, I've got a fully tuned up exhaust here. But to be honest, I was tuning for 500 performance points. I didn't need the horsepower. In general, my rule of thumb is go for handling over power. And that's something actually a lot of British cars do. Think your Caterhams, think your Lotuses and such. Light little things, not much power, but they're like cats. Why did I say cats? I guess in terms of they're quick, but never mind.
Why would you say hedgehogs?
Hedgehogs is a good one, yeah. So, nimble little things. That's what I prefer to drive anyway. Again, you might be different, but that's my personal preference. I just like a responsive car. Turbo, you can't fit a turbo on this car, but a transmission you can. And this is where you start to gain the time back. So you can, again, have the fastest car with the most power, but if you can't put it on the road effectively, it's kind of stupid. Now, you might kind of go, well, what the hell's going on here with all your crazy long gear ratios? Well, I drive with no traction control. And essentially, by having these really long gears, it means that the tires won't spin up as quickly. That means that I can be a little heavier with the throttle. I don't have to be as precise. And that will buy me a little more time to accelerate and get out the corner quicker. Now, another thing to bear in mind, though, while you're setting up a gearbox, is basically the actual top speed you'd probably hit on the circuit. So around here, you're lucky if you probably hit, I don't know, 150, 160. So I'm probably going to set the car up a little quicker than that. But to be honest, there's no point having a 250-mile-an-hour car and you're only ever going to do 180. You may as well make the gearbox work for you and get as much power out as possible. So gearbox, think about the course, tune it per course. Drivetrain, now I won't really spend too much time in here because in most games you don't really have options with a clutch and a firewheel. But essentially, when you change gear, the actual connection between the engine and the gearbox is severed, so the gears can actually change without destroying the gearbox. By improving your clutch and your flywheel, you will make that process faster, more responsive, and it means a faster car fundamentally. The limited slip diff I will talk about now. On a car, you have your engine, that's spinning, a drive shaft, and that drive shaft will go to a thing called a differential. That is connected to the axle of the car, which is obviously connected to the two wheels. Now, what happens is in a normal car is you have your drive shaft going into your differential, and it just splits the power to each wheel. Fine. In a racing car, that perhaps isn't the best way to do it. Perhaps you want both wheels to be spinning at the same speed or be spinning at different speeds, depending on the situation. A limited slip differential will allow you to make the wheels in a limited amount spin at different speeds, which can be useful. So, for example, if you find yourself having issues with oversteer, the limited slip diff can allow one wheel to spin quicker to hopefully compensate. Now, in GT5's terms, you have some sensitivity settings for when the limited slip differential will kick in. in terms of setting this, you've just got to find something which works for you. But the limited slip diff can allow you to go into corners a little bit quicker. It can allow you to put a little more throttle on, and it can allow you to be a little more harsh with the brake. So it's something very, very valuable to think about when you're setting up the car. Now, the suspension. This is where the real time is made. So the suspension is, if you will, I don't know, the acting force on your tires. They are the relatively speaking, it's the piece of kit which keeps your tires in contact with the road. Very important piece of kit, especially to get these set up right. Now, as I was talking about before, weight is the enemy, and you want the suspension to not only deal with the weight, but keep the tire in contact with the road and working. So, racing cars, you tend to see them run as low as possible. That's to get the center of gravity lower, which helps, well, the weight movement in terms of it won't move as much because it's low to the ground. One pro tip I can share with you is, as you can see here, my front ride height is actually higher than the rear. The reason that is when you brake, obviously the weight shifts from the rear of the car to the front. Now, because I've set the front ride height a little higher, the weight will actually go onto the front wheels, and actually there'll be a little bit of give in the suspension. And that little, I don't know, dampening effect will actually help stop the sort of weight that's being slammed to the front, causing understeer. It's a pro little tip right there, very simple and easy to do. Now, the actual pressure you put on the tyres in terms of the force, be careful when you change it, to be honest. If you find you're getting a little bit of understeer, turn the front up the front pressure. Likewise, if you're getting a little bit too much oversteer, make the spring a little softer. Up to you, really, just however the car reacts. And actually, again, another little pro tip, only change one thing at a time. Obviously, if you change loads of things at once, you don't know what's actually worked, what hasn't. So change one thing at a time, see how it feels, and go from there. For the sakes of time, I'll be changing lots of things. That's just because I'm a little bit time limited. But anyway, now the dampeners, basically this is how much the spring will allow you to move, let's say. So if you've got a very stiff spring, the weight won't move too much. If you get a very soft spring, it will move quite a lot. Again, this is depending on the weight in the car, the way that the car reacts when you drive. You wanted to set this as required. So at the front of the car here, I've got it set pretty soft. At the rear, it's pretty hard. Obviously, a rear-wheel drive car, the Honda NSX, you want to make sure that the power is relatively, got a good footing, if you will, to the tarmac. So stiff suspension works there. Anti-roll bars, I've cranked up to max. I don't like the body rolling personally, so that's that. Now the camber and the toe, this is where the really interesting stuff starts. So I'm not sure if you can see in the little graphic here, but the tire is flashing here. And essentially camber is the angle in which the car's tire is sort of bent inwards, let's say. Now, and one thing I'll mention, you'll notice that the camber angle is negative. Racing cars will only ever really run negative camber. You'll never see them run positive camber. That's because, again, laws of physics, positive camber won't help. So essentially, imagine it like this. The car's tire is on an angle. Let's say you're going around a right-hand corner and you've got some negative camber. The left-hand tire is basically pointing inward when you're driving along in a straight line. When you go into a corner, the weight of the car and everything, when you turn right, is pushed to the left-hand side through G-force. Because your tire is on an angle, it gets loaded, and what happens is more of the tire is actually put in contact with the road. That's very useful. If you are running some camber, basically that means you'll be able to carry, for example, a little more speed into the corner. You'll feel more grip into the corner. Basically, it'll allow you to be a little bit quicker. There are downsides, however. First of all, obviously, it's at an angle. That meaning when you're driving in a straight line, you won't have, for example, as much impact on braking. Because obviously, less tire and contact with the road. You put the brakes on, not all the tire will be braking, let's say. So there are some drawbacks. Again, adjust as you feel necessary. If it feels good, keep tweaking it. If it doesn't feel good, don't. Now, in the same regard, toe angle, or caster angle, as it's also known. Again, as you can see by the little graphic flashing now, that's basically with regards to sort of the tire being pointed inwards and outwards. Again, it's just something that you have to tweak and feel out as you modify the car. To be honest, I don't really know what the caster does. I'll come out on the record. And again, I'm not a car mechanic. I've jumbled all this together and just my experience of tuning cars and games. But the caster can be very useful to eliminate, for example, understeer if you're getting it and that kind of thing. So again, have a play around, change one thing, see what it does, and go from there. Brakes. Now, the brakes are probably next to the tires. The next or the most important thing on the car. Getting the car slowed down is obviously quite useful. So in GT5, you don't actually get a choice of brake packages, let's say, big brakes, small brakes, whatever, but you do get the brake balance. Now, the thing with brake balance is you can set it to maximum, but effectively that's quite dangerous because, well, first of all, you'll wear the brakes out, but you're basically putting more pressure on the brakes, which means they'll lock up a heck of a lot easier, which isn't good. So thus, you want to do it in such a way that you slow the car down with the maximum pressure, but you don't wear out the brake and you don't cause lockups. In addition, you might want to slow the tyres down at independent rates. So the Honda NSX is a rear-wheel drive car. I've set it up here so the rear wheels are slowed down faster than the front wheels. That will cause issues in some regards. I've mitigated for them in other parts of the setup. But basically, I don't like the rear tyres going faster than the front tyres as I go into a corner. It causes oversteer. Don't want too much oversteer. A little bit I can deal with, but not too much. So again, just setting it up with respect to the way that you want the car to handle in the corner, very important. Brake balance, you need to get it right, or else you'll just cause lockups. Now the tyres. By far and away the most important piece of kit on the car. In this just test, we're limiting ourselves to the sports hard tyre here, but basically the slicker the tyre, as in no grooves on the racing tyre, some grooves here, obviously more surface for the tyre to make contact with the road, thus more grip. Again, in this instance, we're limiting ourselves to the hard tyre here, but obviously slick tyres will be quicker, more grippy. But again, actually, you need to be careful with your suspension setup in terms of how the actual car reacts with the suspension setup. So if you're running lots of camber, for example, it will wear out one edge of the tyre quite quickly, whereas the rest might be in good shape. So you kind of have to be careful. So in this instance, we're running with a sports hard tyre. Let's see what happens. I've made my changes. Let's see what happens. So Tom, how are you doing?
Just in my car, and I'm still here for people who have thought, Chuggy's on his own now.
Yeah, I've been ranting and raving, haven't I?
I was doing averages of 58.3s.
58.3. So
my fastest was a 58.1 rounded.
So this is my Honda NSX. You'll see a pretty garish rear wing.
Hang on.
That's more for looks more than anything. But anyway, let's see how the car handles. So a little bit of oversteer. Can handle that.
My camera's not updating.
What do you mean camera?
The camera positioning's not updating correctly.
Oh, it's not good. So I'm not sure if you can tell just by the way that I'm driving the car, but the back's sliding around a lot. I quite like that, but the front is dead steady. That's the way I like to drive the cars. I like to make sure that when I turn into the corner, the car turns. I can deal with the oversteer later. And in fact, that's why when you see me overtake, I tend to go very late on the brakes, because I know the front of the car will do its job. The rear, we'll just have to see what happens. So let's go on this lap.
Now the camera's caught up.
So I got a 57.1, which I previously did. Let's see if I can beat it. Ooh, look at that lock up. That's devastating.
Can you hold it?
Just.
I can't see through the smoke.
I held it. That was way too much there. Oh yeah, that cost me. I'm going to have a second go at that.
There's my line. Bit of tarmac guy left.
So this is another piece of advice I can give. I set this car up with a racing soft tyre, so you get a lot more grip. Driving on the less sticky tyre is a lot more challenging, so if you can get the car handling nicely on the worst tyre, in theory, with any luck, it should only get better with more grip.
But then again, you've got to adjust that, because you're always going to be more cautious, aren't you?
Indeed. Right, so less heavy left foot this time. 57.7, only lost 6 tenths. Actually gained a lot of time on the sort of last sector. That's good to know. Right, so let's try again. Much better. A little bit of a slide there, probably a little bit too much.
That corner is
beautiful.
Annoying.
I love it. I'm just pumping the accelerator there, just to try and keep a bit of momentum going. I'm in the wrong gear, but that'll rectify itself in a minute. Roughly level with my previous best through there, so I can go quicker because I made a mistake with the gear. Around the last corner, just modulating the throttle not to get too much oversteer. Oh, that bit me. Gonna have to have another go now.
Have another go.
But this is the thing with racing though, right? The car, you've got to set it up to suit you, and you'll explore the car's limits. The thing with racing, and this is personally what I love, is that it's a balance between man and machine. Both have got to be at their best
And
and working together.
you're constantly pushing each other as well.
Exactly. And the setup is the start of that process. If you want to game time, you need to respect the car, and I really messed that first corner up. Let's see if we can gain the time back by being in the right gear this time. Probably won't.
Understeer there.
Yeah, a little bit, but I gained a load of time.
That corner only grants oversteer.
Go on, car. Ooh, turn, 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 turn. There we go. And across the line. Oh, I'm just slow. I'm going to have one more go.
If you don't get on this one, we'll just say that the time that you set before is the one for me to beat.
Indeed.
And I'm feeling quite confident.
You feeling confident now, are you?
Yeah. Ooh,
So I locked the rears up a bit there. Didn't cost me too much. In the wrong gear again. So I love Suzuka. I love this complex in particular. Because again, you need to make sure that that front of the car is really working, and it's paying off now.
Ooh. Of course, you've got body kits and all that. I've got nothing on my car.
Yeah, to be honest, the body kits and stuff, though, do nothing for me. Anyway, and across the line, and that's a 56.8. That's a 3/10 gain. So there's your challenge.
56.8. I don't think I'll be getting that. Alright.
Even lock up the rears there, slowing down.
I'm
So I
just going
probably
to
need to
prepare
work
to
on
go
that rear
to
balance a
track.
bit.
I'll wait for you to spectate.
Yep, I am. If you head out now, I'll be with you momentarily, sir, and we'll give you, well, however long you like. And if you like, I'll commentate, or if you want me to shut up, or if you want to talk, give me the word.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Okay. Well, let's see how the car looks anyway through the corners. Beautiful. Look at that. No complaints whatsoever, unlike my car. Lovely. They might kind of go, oh, look, you're going sideways. Yeah, you do lose time, but it's damn fun, isn't it, sir? And in fact, watching this kind of
You
thing
see me
back...
smiling, don't you?
So it's interesting to see when you get the oversteers, often when one of the tyres overheat, and that's because they have been pushed too much. So again, when you're setting up the car, you need to be mindful of that as you drive, evidently. Whoa, look at that. See, the rears have just gone right too much. So here he goes into his first lap, and I'll be quiet now. You talk as much as you like, sir.
As you could see, it's oversteering a bit, but that's my own downfall for the power I'm putting.
Engine is tuned absolutely spot on, so it's absolutely on the limiter at the end of the straight. You won't be going any quicker. Very nice. A little bit of a wobble, but nothing too major.
Probably shouldn't have increased the torque.
Nicely through there. Changed gear into the right gear, unlike what I was doing before. Ooh. Oop, a little bit of a wobble. Tire on the dirt, but you held it. Tyres are up to temperature. The suspension is working nicely, but not too much. Around the final corner. Nicely onto the line. Very nice. And he heads for the line. What's he going to do? A 58.4. A 58.4. Well, having a long...
I'm a little bit slower, but that's because I was mostly drifting through that.
All the track there. Very nice. Nice bit of engine braking there.
I didn't actually engine brake, I just lifted off.
Well, I saw it come up on the limiter and you didn't shift, so you're not allowing the engine to accelerate anymore. That's a pro tip, in fact, in general. If you really want to slow down, downshift. It'll break the engine a bit in real life, but in games it doesn't really matter. At least not at the moment.
Wait until the next generation of consoles, mate.
This has been an absolutely spectacular lap, Tom. Not a foot wrong.
What can I say?
Heading
I'm
for
beast.
the line. Oh, and that's a 57.
56.9.
156, 56.9, surely.
Yeah, 56.9.
Well, there you go. Close. Anyway, you carry on, and I'll wrap this up. So anyway, guys, I'm no mechanic, but the fundamentals of car tuning, it's all about getting the tyres to work. If you push them too much, they'll bite for sure. So learn the way that you like to use the car. Understand the tyres. Understand the fact you need to get them to work for you, and spend your time just getting to know the car, the way you drive it. Motorsport, it's all about man and machine, getting the two working together. Let the car work for you. Get you to work for the car. It'll be glorious. Look at Tom now, drifting like a pro. Absolutely gorgeous. Probably a little bit too much there, but never mind. Anyway, guys, I hope this has been useful. I hope it's been enjoyable. Certainly, this has been good fun to do. Anyway,
Yeah, I think I can go faster here.
always using the inside line.
No, that's a
57.3.
57.5.
Anyway, guys, I hope you found this enjoyable. If you want to see more Gran Turismo 5 from the both of us or something completely different, by all means, please do leave a comment in the comments below. If you could like, dislike, whatever you believe this video deserves, that would be fantastic. And if you want to see more videos from me or Tom, you can subscribe either to me or Tom. Tom's channel will be in the description. So, guys, I've been Chuggy. I hope you enjoyed this video. Say ta-ra, Tom.
Too busy enjoying myself, but ta-ra.
Ta-ra. Anyway, guys, thank you so very much for watching as always. I've been Chuggy, and I'll see you out on the racetrack.